Welcome to Coach Bennett's podcast, where every run has a purpose, where kindness is hardcore, where this is about running, and this is not about running, where every starting line is a finish line in disguise, where rambling still gets you where you need to be, where pineapple will never ruin your pizza, and the sodas, adult and not adult kind, are always cold, and where there is room on the starting line for everybody. I'm Coach Bennett. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day. Let's get started. Welcome to episode 40 of Coach Bennett's podcast. That's right, we're already at episode 40. Can you believe that? It really does seem like yesterday that I was doing episode 1 in a Miami hotel room. Terrified, because I'd put it off for so long, and for whatever reason, that made me build up some anxiety about doing the podcast. And now here we are, 40 episodes later. Wild, right? And this one's actually going to be a lot of fun. I am excited about this one. I've put together some of the most popular questions that I've got, that I've received over the last few months. And not even the last few months, because I'll tell you what, there's like 15 questions basically in running. They're just asked a million different ways. And I don't know. Let me see. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think 14, which is hilarious that I said there's about 15 and I have 14 in front of me. I'm hoping to get to all of them. I'm going to try my best not to overly ramble. But what I did was I basically compiled, like I said, the most popular questions, ones that I'm getting DM'd on Instagram or sent to me on Threads or through the mailbag. And there's obviously some consistent questions week in, week out, day in, day out from all of you. And I thought, you know what? Let's just put most of them together, have some fun, rip through them, and there you go. It'll be like answering your questions, answering your top questions, most popular questions. I don't know. Well, I don't know what the name of the episode's going to be, but I'm excited to do it. And I think we should just jump right into it, right? You want to just do it? All right. So, first one seems like a pretty obvious one. Well, maybe it doesn't seem like a pretty obvious one. How do I start running? I get that all the time, which makes me super happy because I'd rather answer this question right away before somebody starts running than have to answer it later on down the road. Because I think if I can answer this question early, there's a better chance people are going to have better runs earlier. And ideally, their first run is a great run, whether it's their first run back, first run starting over, whatever. So I'm excited every time I get this question, and I try to answer it every single time I get it. And I figure let's just answer it right off the bat in this podcast so as many people as possible can hear it, not even if they need it. Because I know so many of you are running, and you're smart runners, you're kind runners, you're good teammates and coaches to yourself. But remember, most people don't know how to run. So part of your job, your responsibility as a smart, kind runner is to let people know how to run, is to help them have better runs and therefore enjoy their running more so they run more and become better runners. Okay, so how do you start running? Well, you've heard me say this before. Well, you start and realize there is no minimum distance, there's no minimum duration. The entire run should feel easy. So easy that you're actually mad at me for running so easy. And I want you to end the run before you need to end the run. In fact, maybe even set the goal of ending the run before you want to end the run, knowing you could have run faster, you could have run further. End the run knowing that what you did was a success, and end the run wanting to run again. That's how you start running. That's your first run. It's not about a certain pace. It's not about a certain distance. It's not about a certain duration. It's not about the minutes, the meters, and the miles. It's about getting in a run, running it totally in control. And it's about ending the run knowing you did something great, regardless of the distance or the duration. It doesn't matter, remember? And ending wanting to run again. That's it. That's how you start running. Because when someone's asking me, how do I start running? They're not asking me how they do a first run. They're asking me how they can run and continue running. Which means, how do I do this run and want to do a next run? Which will increase the likelihood I do a next run. And if I can do that next run just as well or even better than I did the first run, then there's a good chance there's going to be a third run. Then we can start talking about other things. We can start talking about speed runs and how to mix your running up and how to increase the distance and the duration and how to back off and when to back off. But there's no point in talking all about that before the first run. It's just how do we nail the first run so there's a next run. That's it. So that's how you start running, all right? Now, I will also get from people right away, which is like a follow-up question, what they need to do a run or go for a first run or a second run. And one of the top questions is, do I need a watch? And the answer is early on, no, you don't. I recommend one, though. I really do, for a number of reasons. One, I think it's important for you to know what you did. And not because you're trying to measure progression based on the minutes and the meters or the miles, which at some point you will, which is fun, or at least you might want to later on. But I think early on, it's really good to check you so you don't go too far. And people are like, wait, you think I'm going to go too far? And my answer is yes. I already know you're probably going to go too fast. So I'd like to stop you from going too far. If I can keep you from going too fast or too far early on, there will be a later on. But if you go too fast or too far early on, there's a really good chance there won't be a later on. There won't be more running. So that watch is really a good indicator of, let's not go beyond this, okay? And a lot of people say, wait, what? You're only going to let me run this? And that's why I say, do you need a watch? No, but I'd prefer if you had one. Now, you can use your phone as a watch. That's fine, too. And obviously, I'm going to recommend the guided runs that I do for you to start your relationship with running with. That's this way, you don't have to be looking at your watch. You don't have to be looking at your phone. You can just be listening to me, which may sound like the worst thing in the world. But the point is, I will be there making sure you don't go too far and making sure you don't go too fast. Or at least I'll be reminding you not to do that, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be making all of the decisions. Which, by the way, is why I tell people when you're thanking me for I couldn't have gotten across the finish line without you. Yes, you could have. You took every stride. You powered every single movement forward. So, yeah, you could have. I talked. Maybe, I helped that way. But when it comes down to who did the running, you did the running. So, anyway, do you need a watch? No, but I'd like you to have something that's measuring the distance or the duration. Simply because, like I said, I want to make sure you don't go too fast, too far, or too long early on, okay? All right, how long do my trainers last, or how long should I expect my running shoes to last? Great question. There's some things that can change this answer. I'd say the most common one that can change how long a pair of trainers are going to last is what you're using them for. People say, oh, I'm going to run in them. Yeah, I know, but are you also going to walk around the shops with them? Are you going to take them and wear them to school? Are you mowing the lawn with them? Are you running errands with them? Or are you only using them for running? Because it makes a difference. The more you use them, okay, the less amount of time they're going to be usable, because they do their job. And then it's look, I'm done. You got the distance, the running out of me. And now you need a new pair of shoes. So I would say a general rule of thumb is to start thinking about getting a new pair somewhere around 300 miles, which, we're looking at 500 kilometers, somewhere in there, where you're going to start noticing okay, it might be time to start thinking about getting a new pair. You get to about 400 miles, or 650K. That's where you should have a new pair of trainers. And now what I'll do is somewhere around 300 miles or 500K, I'll get a new pair of trainers, and I will use the old pair of trainers on the worst possible days. So if the weather's really, really horrendous, I'll grab the old ones and kind of save the new ones. And the last 50K, 100K of a pair of trainers are the ones that are doing like the worst work. Like it's just rainy out, it's terrible out, I'm going for shorter runs, that kind of stuff. The longer runs and the nicer days, the more intense runs, I'm going to use the newer shoes because there's more pounding, whether it's because of the intensity of the workout or it's because of the length of the workout. I'll use the new shoes, but on the shorter runs and on nasty days, I'm going to use the old trainers. And then those old trainers become the shoes that I use to go to the store, to do stuff in the yard. I'm not going to be using my new trainers. No, they're used for running, and that's it. Until they get retired and put out to pasture to, go to the store to buy food and, run errands for the family and stuff like that. So that's the answer about the trainers. How many days a week should I run? Here's another all-time popular question. How many days a week should I run? Well, I don't know. How many days a week do you want to run? What do you want to get out of running? What is the purpose of your running? Is it because you want to use it as a way to just get general fitness, to increase the healthiness of your life? Is that a word? Healthiness? To increase the healthfulness? I don't know. Somebody can tell me what the answer to that is. But if that's what it is, okay, well, that's different. How does it fit your schedule? What else do you have going on? Are there other things that you do? Is running kind of the foundation for the movement in your life, or do you do other things and running is a supplement? These are the things that you need to think about. So it's not just this easy answer like 3. Like I don't know. Maybe you do lots of other things, and it's one of those things where, hey, maybe once a week you get to go out and dedicate time to just a run because you play football 5 days a week, or tennis, or you hike a ton and you just want to add in some running because you want a different type of effort in your life. I'm not sure. Maybe you're dedicated to completing a race, and that's a whole other question. Can you dedicate 3 days a week or 4 days a week or 5 days a week? And you do know, I'm just throwing that in there, you can run 7 days a week. You can. You just can't run hard and run long every single day. But you can run 7 days a week. What's wrong with 1 or 2 or 3 days a week going for a 5-minute run? Like, unless you're too cocky to count a 5-minute run as a run, then no, maybe you can't run 7 days a week because you won't allow yourself to count a 5-minute run as a run. But if you do, then why can't you run 7 days a week? The thing you got to be careful of is not turning the ability to run 7 days a week into the necessity to run 7 days a week. Okay, that's super important because you got to remember, great recovery is what leads to great running. So you don't want to be sacrificing the recovery and the rest you need because you have a streak going or something. And as a result, you end up running yourself backwards. You end up regressing as opposed to progressing. So that's just something to think about. So how many days a week should I run? I'm always going to be asking a follow-up question there. And this is a good life lesson. This is about running. This is not about running thing. Sometimes the best answer to a question is a question in return. So if you're being asked a question, don't give an answer that is a specific answer to a question that you can't answer. I don't know how many days a week you should run. I need more information about you because that answer is dependent on you, your running, your expectations, your capabilities of putting aside time and the requisite recovery. So just know that, especially when it comes to training, your training, when you're asking a question, it should be a conversation in response, I guess is what I'm saying. It's almost never just do X. There's usually a follow-up question. So tell me a little bit about you, and then we can figure out whether it's X, Y, or Z. Or maybe we go all the way back to the beginning, and the answer is A. Okay, I've got another question that is kind of related, at least in how you would answer this question, or how I would answer this question, which is how long should I take off after I've been sick or hurt? And the answer, once again, is I don't know. What I do know is that you have to be patient and confident when you're recovering, when you're healing. Because this is why. Too often people come back too early from sickness or injury. And I get it. I understand it. You know, you want to start running again. You're worried that you're losing time. But this is the thing. You cannot rush recovery. You cannot rush healing. You can rush getting injured, and you can rush getting sick. So if you're coming back too early, there's a good chance that you're going to set yourself back. And I'll just explain it to you this way. When you're coming back from injury, when you're coming back from sickness, at the end of that first run back, you want to be healthier, more healed, more recovered than you were at the beginning of the run. And what I mean by that is not that you haven't done an effort, that you're not tired from the run, but you're not more likely to get sick and you're not more likely to get hurt as a result. You're not weakening yourself. If you're coming back after being sick and you're not completely ready to run, there's a good chance that just the effort of an easy run can set you back, can delay you getting all the way to 100%. Because a lot of times when you're coming back, maybe you're not at 100%, but you're at a point where you can do some easy runs and get healthier. But if you're coming back and you're still not at a point where you can get healthier and run, then you only focus on getting healthier. Yeah, that may delay your first run back a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, fine. But when you come back, you're healthy. You're healed. And this is going to allow us to be consistent. This is going to allow us to end every run a little better, as opposed to a little worse, which I've seen happen to people. They come back too soon, they do runs, and they're actually a little more injured at the end. They're also a little more sick at the end. And as a result, this comeback is actually extended. So yeah, maybe you started running earlier than someone else going through the same thing, but they're back to running. They're back to feeling healthy. They're back to running strong and extending out the efforts, increasing the intensity before you are, because you couldn't keep pushing. You couldn't keep progressing because you started too soon. And what you were doing, in fact, was regressing. You were starting a run when you were still too sick to start a run. And when you finish the run, your body's not just recovering from the run. Your body is now tasked with also recovering from this sickness. It's not strong enough to battle and do something else. Heal from and do something else. So you have to be patient. You have to be confident. And both of those things are great traits for runners. So when you're coming back, first of all, respect the process of healing and recovery. I will say that. It is not easy to heal. It is not easy to recover. Your body is working hard to do those things. Respect the work your body is doing, just like you would respect the work your body does when it goes for a long run or an intense speed run. You give it the recovery it needs. You give the respect to that body, saying, ooh, you just did some work. We're going to get some sleep. We're going to eat. We're going to fuel. Do the same thing when you have an injury or a sickness. Your body is working really hard to heal itself, to recover from those things. Give your body that respect. So it's an answer. It's also I need more info. All right, let's move on to a next one. Do I need to run a marathon? I get this. It's amazing. I get this all the time. Do I need to run a marathon? Because I know what's not being said, which is, do I need to run a marathon to be considered a real runner? And the answer is, oh my gosh, no, you don't need to run a marathon, period. It has nothing to do with being a real runner or not. If you run, you're a runner. Okay? Like I don't know what the definition is of a real runner because it's made up. It's not real. It's just silly. You know what I mean? It's like, what does a unicorn smell like? It's like, I think, cherry marshmallows. Like, I don't know what a unicorn smells like. What's a real runner? I have no idea. A real runner probably also smells like cherry marshmallows, I'm guessing. So no, you don't need to run a marathon. And if I sound a little flabbergasted, it's because I am. You don't have to run a marathon to be a real runner. You don't have to race a 5K either. I wish people would ask me that more. Like, do I need to run a 5K to be a real runner? No, you don't need to race a 5K. Do I need to race the mile to be a real runner? No, you don't need to race a mile to be a real runner. It's a lot of fun, I'll tell you that much. The mile is a great event, but nobody ever asks me that. They always ask if they need to run a marathon. No, if you want to take on that challenge, that's great. It's going to be a wild journey and experience, and it's going to involve a lot of running. It doesn't make you more of a runner. It just involves more running. That's all. You know what I mean? So no, you don't need to run a marathon. I guess I just could have said that, but I said that just a lot of different ways. Okay. All right, next one. We're going to take a different turn here. Do I need a heart rate monitor? I get that question a lot. Unless some type of medical professional is telling you that you need a heart rate monitor for some reason, then no, you don't need a heart rate monitor. There are people that train with a heart rate monitor, and they pay attention to their heart rate, and it's an incredibly important metric to them. I personally do not run with a heart rate monitor. I don't pay attention to zones, and you need to run in this zone and that zone, and I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, zone defense? We doing man-to-man defense? What are we talking about? So, but there are some people who train that way. That's fine. That's great. Good for them. I personally do not. I think it is one of those things, like any other metric you're going to pay attention to, that you're best served by paying attention to it consistently, but not being too focused on it, because it's never going to tell you everything you want it to tell you. It's like anything else. People think, their pace is the most important metric. Well, I mean, it's an important one, I guess, if you understand what it's telling you and what it's not telling you. Distance is an important metric. Duration's an important metric. Cadence could be an important metric. There's all sorts of these things that you could say are important metrics, but they're just metrics. They don't ever really tell you everything you want to know. I think too many people go in and think this is like the solve. Oh, once I know my heart rates, it's like, yeah, well, you do know that if you're dehydrated or you have had a bad sleep or you're in humid weather or, you're on your period, or, there's all sorts of things that can really disrupt your normal heart rate. So unless you are really paying attention, then you can actually read the wrong things from your heart rate. The other thing I will say is I have found that just the best metric to use is just check in with yourself and ask how you're doing. I think leading by effort, perceived effort, and I'm not going to do some chart because a lot of the charts just make no sense to me anyway. But just ask yourself, how am I feeling? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling kind of sluggish. I'm feeling kind of tired. I'm stressed out. I'm worn out. I'm fatigued. I feel electric. I'm on fire. I feel so good. I feel refreshed. Great. And then ask some follow-up questions. Why? Is it because maybe you've been taking the first part of the run nice and easily, and that's why suddenly you feel better? Great. Terrific. Okay, you're going through a progression run. That's fantastic. I'm really sluggish. I'm really tired. Well, is it because you started at the bottom of a hill and you've been running uphill at the beginning? Well, that's not the easiest thing to do in the world. Is it because you had a workout yesterday? Maybe that's why you're tired. It's not because something's wrong. You're tired from a very hard workout yesterday. Checking in with yourself and simply asking, how do you feel? And knowing what the purpose of the run is, and being open to making adjustments to the training plan on the spot, during the run, before the run. Like these are great. Like this is called coaching. And self-coaching and being self-aware of how you're doing just involves, you having a conversation with yourself. So do you need a heart rate monitor? The answer is no. Okay. What you do need is a good coach, and you're the best possible coach you could have. So, like I said, if I do my job right, I'm demoted from head coach to assistant coach, because you should be your own best coach. Okay. This is another one of those things that I get, which I got to admit, it makes me laugh a little bit. But I do get why I get asked this question, which is, how should I breathe on a run? And I get it. I understand, because there's so many articles that come out every year about these little things, these little like niche things to work on. Like, you should breathe in through your nose and out through your nose, or in through your nose or out through your mouth, or in through your mouth, out through your mouth, but then in through your nose and out through your mouth. And it should, if you really want optimal breathing, it's like when you land on every third stride, that's when you breathe out. And maybe when you go into stride, like in the air, that's when you breathe. I don't know. It's so complicated. And the funny thing is like when you're out there running, like, is this really what you want to do? Really? Do you want to spend 25 minutes counting steps and trying to figure out when to breathe in and when to breathe out, and then thinking your run's going to get screwed up because you breathed in through your mouth and your nose at one point? I mean, I just, like, I'm sorry, there are certain things that kind of swarm around running every year or 2 years, these articles about, the perfect form or the perfect way to breathe or the perfect cadence. And there's nothing perfect. There's nothing perfect. There's nothing you're going to do that's perfect. You can do things that are perfect enough, You can do things that are imperfect, and they are still extraordinary. And how do I know that? Because anything that's extraordinary has been imperfect, okay? There is no perfection. And in sports, you can strive for it. That's great, as long as you know it's unattainable. So it's kind of fun. Like I'm going to keep going, and how close can I get? But you're never going to be perfect. But I think sometimes these things come out like, here's the perfect way to breathe. What are you taught? No one even taught you how to breathe. This is one of those things. You knew how to breathe. Nobody taught you how to run. You figured it out from like a baby. It was one of your first goals, raise your head. You didn't end there. It was like, I'm going to get on all fours. It didn't end there. You're like, I'm going to stand. Didn't end there. I'm going to toddle around, but that's not what you wanted to do. You wanted to run, and you ran, and everyone cheered for you, and it was epic and amazing, and they were taking pictures, and they were like, we're going to remember this day. And then, 3 months later, you just start getting yelled at for running, which is crazy. But anyway, the point is, you know how to run. There are certain things you can do to strengthen what you're doing. And it's the same thing with like breathing. Have system checks, these moments where you go in and say, is my breathing under control? Am I relaxed? Am I taking good breaths? That's about all you need to do. Because where we come into issues is we start to panic when things get hard, and that's when we need to actually relax. And when you panic, you start taking lots of little breaths, and you're not getting in enough oxygen. So what do? You panic even more, and you take even smaller breaths because you think it's lots and lots of breaths that's going to help, and that's not what's going to help. It's relaxing in those moments. It's not easy. Let me tell you, it's not easy. You're doing a hard workout. The tendency is to kind of panic. It's also the tendency is to get tight. And these are all the things that you don't want to do. You want to be nice and loose and relaxed. So it's just another thing to work on. But, you know how to breathe. All right? Just check in with yourself every once in a while. Do I need to do strength training? That's another one I get all the time. I'm going to say yes, but this is why I'm going to say yes. It's not even just for running. I think you need to do strength training generally just in life. I think it's something that's really, really good, especially as you get older. It's going to help your running. No doubt about it. It'll help your running. I look at strength training and drills and things like that as insurance against injury. You know what I mean? It's those things that are going to keep you from getting hurt. So maybe I'm using insurance the wrong way, because insurance doesn't keep you from getting hurt. But you know what I'm saying. This is the stuff you do so you can become stronger than the running you're trying to take on. So many people get hurt, not even because of overuse. Overuse injuries are common, but lack of strength, that's where a lot of people get hurt. Their bodies just aren't physically capable of doing the running that they're doing. So you want to outpace your running with athleticism. You want to be a better athlete than runner. You want to be a stronger athlete than runner. And if you can do that, you're going to be less likely to get hurt. So strength training is great for running. So yes, absolutely. But I would say you want to do it because it just makes everything else in life better. And as you get older, you start doing certain movements less and less and less and less. Like you never put your arms over your head. Like you get to a certain age in your life, you never put your arms over your head. And that's a really important thing to do, which is why a lot of older people get hurt grabbing stuff out of closets, grabbing something that's above them. They just never do that. And they're unprepared for it. So strength training is kind of like a cool way of not only becoming a better runner, but also strengthening yourself to just live life better. So yeah, I would say you do need to do strength training. And by the way, almost all the strength training you need to do can be satisfied with little to no gear. Like just balance and body weight is going to solve almost all of it. All right? So you don't have to go out and get some like thousands of dollars collection of weights and pulleys and all sorts of different things. The overwhelming majority of what you need is just a floor, a wall, and your body weight. All right? Okay, here's another one. Is running supposed to be hard? I love this. And the answer is sometimes. Yeah, sometimes it is. I love answering it that way first because then it makes what I'm going to say next, I think, not even so much more powerful, but I think it resonates more, and I think they realize I'm coming from a very honest place. But yeah, sometimes it's supposed to be hard. Yeah, sometimes even the easy running is supposed to be hard because running is supposed to be a challenge, all right? It is supposed to be a stressor. It's supposed to be a positive stressor, but it's supposed to be a stressor. It is a stressor. So yeah, sometimes it is supposed to be hard. Like I'm just telling you, like I haven't run yet today, and I'm going to go for an easy run, really easy run. It's not even going to be that long. So the actual physical side of the run, that's not going to be difficult. The mindful side of getting myself ready to do this because it was sunny earlier today, which is a rarity in Portland. But now the clouds are moving in. I would not be surprised if it was raining by the time I started my run, which I'm not looking forward to. I'm done with the rain here in Portland. I'm over it. So I'm not, how should I put it, raring to go. I'm not that excited right now to do this. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, mindfully, to get this run in. It's not going to be easy. Mindfully. That's going to be my challenge today. And I'm going to embrace that and just say, okay, if that's the big challenge today, fine. Then there are other runs that are meant to be physically challenging. It could be because of the duration of the distance. You're doing a longer run, so that time on your feet is extended out to a point where it's going to be challenging physically and mindfully, and maybe even emotionally and spiritually. Then there are other runs that maybe are shorter but more intense. I'm thinking speed runs, fartlek, tempo runs, stuff like that, where again, they're supposed to be challenging, and there's different levels of challenging in there. But then there are other runs that you're going to go out and you're going to say, okay, it's beautiful, I want to go for a run, or it's just an easy run and it's nice out, or I'm meeting friends, and it shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't always be hard. It shouldn't always be a massive challenge or undertaking. If it is, then you're running the wrong way, or you're running for the wrong reasons. And that's where you need to sit down with your training plan or yourself or your coach or your teammates and figure out, why is this always so hard? Because it's not supposed to be. It's not always supposed to be hard. Doesn't mean it's always going to be easy, but it's not always supposed to be hard. Okay, next question. We only got a couple more, which is kind of fun. I'm surprised we got through so many of these. Okay, is Daniel the engineer real? Yes, he is. He is an actual real person. A lot of people think he's not, which is crazy to me. Yes, he is a real person. Are you real? I get this probably once a week. Not as much as I used to, but I get it probably once a week. Are you real? As I don't even know how to answer that. I mean, I usually answer, I think I am. But I mean, I don't know how to prove it, And I think I'm just damaged by watching, those movies like The Matrix and stuff. Like, am I real? Or is this just some kind of computer simulation? But as far as I can tell, I'm real. And maybe my response in the future should be, I think so. Are you? So, but as far as I can tell, I'm real. Do you write all the guided runs? All the ones that I'm in, yes, I do. And then a lot of the other ones too. So I think there's maybe like 300. I think I've written 250 of them, let's say. So, yes, and I know it's a lot of writing, but I love to write. So what can I say? I also love to talk. Have you figured that out yet? All right. Why do you have a mustache? Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a good question. I'm not sure if it's a good question or a rude question. Actually, why do you have a mustache? But I'll tell you the story. I grew beards pretty much every winter. I started growing beards in college, like during cross country, like we would do that, like on the team. You'll see it a lot of times with certain teams. They'll grow something weird, or they'll grow their hair out a certain way, or whatever. We used to do beards, and every time when you grow a beard, when you shave it, you shave the mustache last, just to see what the mustache looks like. You're not thinking of keeping it. And I would do that for years. I mean, winter after winter after winter, I'd grow a beard, shave the beard, keep the mustache. And I think it was back in 2018, I want to say, I had a huge beard, massive beard, and I shaved it. And I shaved it because I shaved it one night because the next day I had to film something. And I was filming something with Bretman Rock, and I had never met Bretman before. So I was going to crack up, I thought, the people I was working with the next day that were going to help with the filming. And I shaved my beard, which I didn't tell anybody I was going to do. And I kept this mustache, which I didn't tell anybody I was going to do. So the night before I shave, I came out because I'm like, my kids are going to think this is hilarious. And they did. They laughed, and they told me I looked like an idiot. And, my wife laughed and also thought I looked like an idiot. And I said, I'm going to go to work tomorrow with the mustache and act like nothing's different. Because I even literally promise you, I brought a razor and I brought shaving cream. Because I'm like, they're going to see it. They're all going to laugh. And they're going to go, okay, hurry up and shave it, because we have to film this thing with Bretman. And I show up at the track, and I have this mustache. And sure enough, everyone laughs. And I'm like, okay, I've got 40 seconds before everyone tells me to shave this mustache. And they say, oh, this is great, because Bretman loves Freddie Mercury. And Bretman's going to love your mustache. And I thought, wait, no, you're supposed to tell me to get rid of this. And we ended up filming it. Sure enough, Bretman liked the mustache, but they didn't tell me to get rid of it. And then I showed it as a joke, and people were like, oh my gosh, you have a mustache, that's great. And I was like, no, you're supposed to tell me to get rid of the mustache. And a week later, the mustache was still in my face, and that was 6 years ago. So, yeah. I didn't really plan this out, and now I've lost control. I don't call the shots anymore. The mustache calls the shot. Because I get asked quite a bit, why do you have a mustache? And I don't really have a great answer for it. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it. We ripped through a ton of questions. I don't know if it was 14 or 15. Might have been 13. I'm not sure. But the point is, we ripped through some questions. Keep sending them to me. And like I said, if you were helped by this, fantastic. If you're thinking, hey, some of these were my questions, like the questions you sent to me, great. If you would ask it in a slightly different way, feel free to send it in, because you're going to get a slightly different answer. That's what's great about this, getting questions from all of you. Like I said, there are like 15 basic questions, but they get asked a million very different ways, unique ways, personalized ways, which means the answer is going to have a slightly different shading when I'm answering your version of it. So don't feel like you can't ask your question if kind of, sort of, the question was answered here, but maybe the answer is going to be kind of, sort of different when you ask it. All right? So keep sending the questions in to the mailbox, which you can find in the show notes. Keep sending them in on DMs. We're going to be having some live Q&As over the next couple of weeks, which I'm excited about, on Instagram and on TikTok and things like that. So please send them in. And thank you so much for listening to episode 40 of Coach Bennett's podcast. I'm already excited about episode 41, which will be coming out next week. So thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing the episode with friends and family and teammates. Thanks for rating and reviewing. And until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. I will meet you on that next starting line. Thank you so much for listening to Coach Bennett's podcast today. And if you're not already following or subscribed to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening, well, I really wish you would because it helps a lot. Also, check out the show notes because you'll find a link to Coach Bennett's newsletter, as well as all the social media sites that I'm on. Places like Threads and Facebook and Instagram and Mastodon and YouTube, and even the artist formerly known as Twitter. Whatever that dumpster fire is called today, you'll find a link to it because I'm on there. Thank you so much again for listening, and until next time, take care of yourself.